Hey Patreon fam, Joey here. Little garden update. I know it's been a while, but been very busy in the garden and putting on our events, planning some new ones, working a lot at Heal Thyself, getting this place ready to start hosting events here a little later in the summer. But today I'm out here in the Goddess Garden harvesting some seeds. I'm harvesting some sorrel seeds, and I just wanted to show you this sorrel, talk about it a little bit, show you how I'm harvesting these seeds, and then we're going to harvest a lot of other seeds from Tamara's greenhouse over here, which we originally thought we'd be doing some breeding projects in this year, but we've just had to scale all our projects way back, so it's just going to sit empty for the year. But she has a lot of awesome plants in there going to seed, and we're going to go in there and start collecting those seeds. So come along with me as we cruise around the Goddess Garden, and I'll show you this sorrel. We got some of our little ganj in here. This is a really nice little corner of the garden. This beautiful mulberry tree kind of holding it down with a bunch of sunchokes, Jerusalem artichokes. That's your sunchoke, your Jerusalem artichoke, which we make the pesticide out of. We've got a lot of potatoes here, which help aerate our hugels and break up our compacted soil. Mullein, which is a great dynamic accumulator plant. Got some of our squashes here. We've got some different greens and stuff. But here we've got our sorrel, and it's gone to seed. Here's some that's gone to seed already, and this sorrel is a salad green. Delicious tender salad green when it's young. It can grow wild around here, but we cultivate it. But this one's been here in this one patch for a long time. At first I thought it was curly dock or yellow dock, which we have in the greenhouse, which we'll be gathering seed from. But Tamara clued me in that it's actually this sorrel, and here's one that is just starting to flower and go to seed. Here's one that's a little more farther along, a little more developed. Here's one that's a little more developed from there. And then over here you have some that are completely ripe. When they're all brown and dead like that, these are your seeds. These are ready to collect. You see, I can get a bunch just like that. And I've already gathered a bunch here, and then I remembered, hey, I should shoot a video of this for the Patreon. So harvesting these is as simple as, identifying your branch. Got the old clippers here. Cutting it down here near the base. I got my branch there. I'm just going to put it in this bucket and just work these off by hand. Just work. Video cut out there. Sorry about that. Sometimes you hit the button. So yeah, you saw I'm just worked that seed right off by hand. Very simple to do. When it's dry and the seed is ripe, it's just going to come right off like that. So I'll let this dry out a little bit more. I might even put it in a paper bag for a couple of days, and then it can be stored long term. And I would let that dry out for a couple of weeks, but then you could plant that pretty quickly. We'll be planting more of this in the coming weeks when we come up on another leaf day. So I'm going to harvest one more, and I'm going to just show you a little bit of how we kind of organize that mulch as we chop and drop that mulch, because that was what got cut off when the video cut off. So I got one more little branch here I'm just going to work all the seeds off of. They're dry, so they're popping right off of there. As much of these seeds off as possible. You can see this branch is pretty seedless, sensimilla you might say. So then what I'm going to do with this mulch, instead of just cutting this up into a bunch of pieces, I've got this branch here. How best to return this to the soil so the worms can start feeding on it, pulling it down deep into the soil, the microbes can start breaking it down. You could throw it on a compost pile. You could use it in a ferment. You could feed it to your animals, to your goats. We're going to just return it, basically chop and drop it right back onto our soil. But instead of chopping this up, where it often turns into a bit of a mess and doesn't get the best coverage on your bed, and is often blows away or blows around, I'm going to fold this up. See how I just folded this up into 3 pieces there? Just kind of folded it over onto itself. Now it's very organized. Nature is very organized. This is a technique we borrow from syntropic farming that my syntropic farming teacher, Scott Hall, an Australian, shared with us. That, you fold these branches over. That's a very organized little package of mulch there. I've got another one there on the ground next to these lettuces. I'm just going to throw that on the ground there. That's not going to blow away. It's got really good coverage of the ground. These all add up. You can see there's some more right there. There's some more right there. This is how you get good coverage on your soil when you're chopping and dropping. Organizing your mulch. It sounds stupid, it sounds dorky, but I do a lot of organizing of mulch these days. You see how these water lines, they all run in straight lines. I do a lot of mulching in between the water lines. We build up a lot of mulch in between the water lines, and then we pull it up to the plants. We're really planted along the drip lines. You got beets and radishes there. You got potatoes down here. You got mallow, burdock. There's some borage. There's cucumbers. And yeah, so we'll be chopping and dropping more of this area and getting it onto the soil, and that's the simplest way to get fertility into your soil. Just keep chopping and dropping those plants and getting them onto the soil. So you see here we've got this, the Jerusalem artichoke is really coming in thick in this area. We use this as a pesticide. We also eat the tuber. You got potatoes coming in here real hard. You got comfrey right here. We're planting cucumbers and melons that'll also act as a ground cover. Nettles, stinging nettle down here, more terpene-rich plants to enhance the terpenes in these. Big mullein, this dynamic accumulator plant that really breaks up the soil. We'll chop and drop all that when it gets a little bigger. All those big leaves, we'll use them as mulch. And yeah, so a lot of kale, a lot of potatoes, fig trees over here, mint. And things are starting to fill in. Certainly this area over here that got planted the earliest is doing the best. We got some pretty big lunkers over here. And here we've got cilantro and dill, and planted between the cannabis with nettles and mustard greens nearby, terpene-rich plants, basil nearby. Lettuces down here. Got more kale along the edge. Dandelion. Comfrey. Lots of mullein. We love this mullein. It grows really well. And you can see here we're laying it on the ground where we're using it as mulch. We're just chopping and dropping and laying it between these water lines. You can see the lettuces here that will soon be in the shade of the cannabis. We'll stack functions by using all of our shade. And yeah, just lots of herbs, lots of companions, lots of diversity. Really happy with this bed. Alright, now we are over in Tamara's greenhouse, this old auto light depth greenhouse that is sitting fallow for the year. Maybe next winter we might grow some food in here, but for now it's sitting empty. But she did a great job growing a lot of companion plants in here when she was growing this over the last bunch of years. And now a lot of these plants are still in here, a lot of perennials and self-sowing annuals. And we're going to collect seeds from some of these. I'll flip this camera around and show you what the current state of this greenhouse looks like. So here we are. Beautiful auto depth greenhouse, but never had the power that she needed here to really be able to do year-round operation in it. And now we just don't have the resources to do anything big in here or the need. So what we can do is still reap a yield out of here from all these plants that have gone to seed. And we've got some very special plants in here. This big one right here that's all sprawled out, it's huge. This is a sorrel, a curly dock, not sorrel. We just collected the seeds off the sorrel. It really looks like the sorrel, but this is the curly dock, also known as the yellow dock. It goes by two of the same name, but it's the same plant. This plant, when it's very small and has very tender leaves, you can eat them. When it's a very small plant, these leaves are very delicious, but they get very bitter as they get older. You can catch this in the wild when it's small and eat it as a salad green. But you can see it has really gone to seed. There's a ton of seed on this thing. The main reason we love this plant is this is a plant that we use in natural farming to make our Jadam herbal solution, our fungicide. And this is a plant that you can spray for powdery mildew, for botrytis. You can spray it preventatively, and you can spray it for treatment. The other big plant that we use as a fungicide in the same way is the horsetail, the equisetum. So I'm going to be sending out seeds of this curly dock also to all of our seed club members. So if you want some seeds, jump up in that tier. Here we also have borage. Borage is an awesome pollinator. It attracts a lot of native pollinators. And here is where we collect the seeds. And nothing on that one. Where do we have some seeds on here? Here we go. These little seeds right here. See those little seeds on the end of these flowers. So that's your borage. We've planted a lot of borage this spring. We started it in trays in the greenhouse, but you could direct sow it right now. This time of year you could pretty much direct sow anything. Just got a lot of snapdragons in here. A great perennial flower, attracts a lot of native predators. Just got the feverfew in here. Here's a really big tobacco. And the seeds are not quite ready on this one yet. Here's the flowers, big leaves. This is a beautiful Nicotiana. We also use this as a Jadam herbal solution, but this has pesticidal effects. So we will actually cut some of this, harvest some of this, probably cut it back down to its base because it'll regrow from the base. And we'll use these leaves to make a Jadam herbal solution. So you want to gather these seed pods. These are your seed pods. There's your flower. Here's the seed pod at the base. You want to gather the seed pods that are the most dried up. This one looks like it's the most dried up, and I'm going to open it up just to try to show you guys. Look at all the seeds that just came pouring out of that one seed pod. Look at that. So tons of seeds just out of one. That was one seed pod, and how many are on here? Several hundred. So I'm going to spread these seeds right in this bed, see if we can get more of this tobacco to just take. So yes, tobacco will be going out. Here's another amazing plant. This is the mallow. Look how big this was. Totally dead, but this was a huge mallow plant. We love this biodynamic accumulator plant because it has a super deep taproot that can reach way down deep into the soil, break up compacted soil, bring up those hard to reach nutrients, micronutrients and minerals. So here's the seeds on these. When these are growing, these are actually called the cheeses, and these are actually edible. There's your cheese right there. Say cheese. So we will gather these seeds from the curly dock and get this going. We love this plant. It grows wild here in Northern California. I find it on a lot of farms. It's a pioneer species that really comes in to break up compacted soil, and it can establish in these alleyways. Look, there's one right there. Speak of the devil, there's one right there. To give you an idea, these are just from these seeds falling in the aisle. Look, it's one of the only things growing in this aisle. There's more of it there. This and the feverfew so here is a big tillage radish that's gone to seed, and we will save some of these. We love this tillage radish, also called the daikon radish. There's your seeds, those orange ones right there. And this breaks up compacted soil. This is a great cover crop if you're dealing with compacted soils, high clay soils like most of us deal with here in Northern California. Get yourself some of this tillage radish, this daikon radish in your cover crop mix. Look, there it is right there. And then you can chop and drop the tops of these while they're still nice and green and lush, and leave that radish in the soil to decompose. And that is a huge chunk of nitrogen that's going to be fixed in your soil as that decomposes. It's going to add a lot of fertility. So we love using the tillage radish in our cover crops and in our soil. So that daikon radish. So that's about it, y'all. I'm gonna start collecting these seeds. That was a little bit of an update of what's going on. I'll capture some more video here soon, walking you around the garden, talking about what we're doing, what we're planting. So for now, that's it. I hope you guys are getting out there, finding yields where you can. This is a fun little project because we didn't have to do anything to cultivate this yield. These plants are really growing on their own. You just got to get out there and harvest them. Let's spread these seeds. Let's bring them to the next seed swap. Let's share them. So hope you guys are collecting seeds, sharing them with your loved ones, sharing them with your neighbors. And yeah, talk to you soon, y'all. Much love. Peace.